Good afternoon, everybody. Thank you very, very much for joining us. First and foremost, I'd like to say a really big thank you to my fantastic panel today, to Gurdeep, to Nadia, to my friend Srini, to my friend Gautam. Thank you for being here today. My name is Madhush Gupta. I'm the Innovation and Technology Lead for the City of London as an elected member. I also work for Lloyds Banking Group, where I lead digital innovation and transformation for capital markets. So progress in India over the last decade has been incredible. I remember being at the Indian High Commission a couple of weeks ago, listening to Nandan Nilekani talk about the India Stack. And the journey has been truly remarkable. Delivering, a digital ID, Aadhaar, Wi-Fi and broadband, a payments infrastructure that creates accessibility. And 10 years ago, 16% of people in India had bank accounts, and now that number's more like 80%. So inclusion has gone incredibly upwards. And if we think about that in the context of 1.4 billion people, that's some achievement. But with that, there are growing pains. And where do we go with that? We've created the right foundations in India, but we need the infrastructure to build on that and to develop the opportunities that India would really benefit from. Global VC and private equity are looking for their inroads to invest in India. One of the reasons we're here in this panel today is to explore what those opportunities are, if there's anything off the table, and see what more we can do to deliver patient capital, to deliver India's infrastructure needs, which are going to be in the trillions and trillions of dollars over the next 20 years. So the opportunity is enormous. So thank you very, very much for being here. First of all, maybe a question for Srinivas. You're one of the largest infrastructure players in India. What are you doing in the digital space to create that infrastructure? Maybe you could also introduce yourself.
Yeah, sure. Firstly, good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for inviting me and giving me this opportunity to share my views with the expert panel here, but with all of you. My name is Srini Rao, and I am representing the L&T Group today. Many of you may know we are a $22, $23 billion global engineering, construction, manufacturing, technology, and financial services conglomerate. And we as an organization believe in building the nation. And building the nation today is as much digital as it is physical, right? And I think to answer your question, I'll take it in two parts. The first part is what we are doing to take technology solutions to the market and to the country. And we have a stated ambition that 50% of the market cap of the group and 50% of the profits of the group should come from technology services in future, right? And we are making significant investments to make that happen, both building the capability and acquiring the capability, whether it is in the space of IT services, whether it is in the space of engineering services, whether it is in the space of product development, product engineering, digital consulting, EdTech, digital finance, so on and so forth. I think there's some significant investments that we are making to take these solutions to build the economy of the future. So that's the first part. And the second part is what we are doing to bring technology to the core of the services that we offer to our clients, right? Let me give you a few examples. Today, across our businesses, across the different businesses that we operate, I think there are 13,000 equipments that are connected today across 500 sites that we have globally, right? What that means is that we have real-time information around the machinery, around the material, around the men, so our operations are that much more efficient and that much more optimized, which obviously helps the end consumer. And if you look at, just an example, Statue of Unity, one of the big projects we did, every single panel that was put in the statue was tracked by RFID, right? And so the great amount of technology that goes in that. And we are using AR, VR, AI-based platforms and solutions to enhance worker safety, to train them using these technologies, both remotely, physically. Automation is a big part of what we do. Today, just to give you an example, in the Hazira plant that we have in Gujarat, one welder can use the robotic automation tool to do 4 different automation tasks or welding tasks simultaneously, right? So there's significant involvement of technology, not just to enable, but to drive the business. And I think that's how we are contributing to the technology advancement of the country.
Thank you very much, Srini. That's really, really interesting. Never a better time to build in India,
Yeah,
from what
absolutely.
I hear. So Gautam, you're at the cutting edge of investment in India's digital space. Because it's such a powerful growth market at the moment, as an outsider looking in, you'd imagine that, whether you're a national firm or an international firm, you're desperate to get into the investment space in India. What does that really look like on the ground? Are there any gaps in the investment landscape?
Fair enough. Hi, this is Gautam Shroff. I'm representing the Nuvama Group. We are the largest wealth manager back home and a full-fledged investment banking platform for the last 25 years. So what we are seeing is, I would start with data as a new oil, which is very well heard. But what is the investment opportunity and what is that I'm personally, pursuing a lot, which is a future, I think investments in data center. So data centers is the new, so everybody's gone and invested in the digital infrastructure as far as UPI is concerned. So we have a Paytm back home, which has become such a large company, thanks to the digital infrastructure push. But now the future of investment and investment opportunity for foreign capital in India is towards data center. So just to give you an example, today we are not even 500 megawatt, and Government of India has made a very clear rule about 2 years back that data of the country cannot be stored outside the country. Today it's applicable only to banking transactions, but come later, every CCTV of the 9,000 railway stations, every income tax record, every tax revenue record has to be stored back home. So there's an immense and huge opportunity that we see for investments to come in. When I say immense and huge, let me throw you some numbers. So it cost about $6 million per megawatt today to build a data center, and we are just at 500. We have clear visibility back home in the next 3 years to go to 1,500 megawatt. That's about a $9 billion investment opportunity. Now, why will foreign capital come and invest in India? The kind of returns that are expected by investments in data center is north of 26-27% annually. So that's a staggering number. Plus, there are many more advantages. But that's my key passion that I'm driving and pursuing right now, attracting foreign capital for investments in data center.
Thank you, Gautam. So, data is the new oil. There's a phrase coined by a British economist, Handley, about 15 years ago. That need to keep your data inside your country is being echoed in many regimes. And there is a significant opportunity as that data grows to store it, to build out all of the systems and processes required to support that on a local infrastructure basis. There's enormous opportunity. Thank you. Nadia, congratulations first and foremost on your recent award from Forbes. You must be absolutely delighted. We're delighted for you. You're on a journey to transform Indian businesses. First, tell us a little bit about yourself, and then please tell us how you're doing that.
Sure. So thanks so much for having me. Great to be here today. My name is Nadia Sood. I'm the CEO and founder of Credit Enable. We're a financial technology platform, and we intermediate between small to medium-sized enterprises and formal financial institutions that provide them with debt. I'm really passionate about getting access to affordable finance to SMEs. Globally, they produce all of the wealth generative properties in an economy, and India presents a massive opportunity. If you look at recent forecast by JP Morgan, Morgan Stanley, the economy today is 3.4 trillion. In 9 years, it's going to be 32 trillion. And who's going to drive this growth is going to be SMEs. So they really need access to finance. This is also a huge opportunity for investors, for financial technology companies, because the debt market is very underpenetrated in India. The yields are high. You've got about only 21% of SMEs actually accessing debt right now from formal institutions, as compared to in a developed economy where around 45 to 50% of them would be accessing debt to grow. So there's a huge need for capital, but also a huge opportunity to drive the capital into that segment and ensure that India really does fulfill on its growth potentials.
Thank you very much. It's very exciting to understand how big and deep the market is and the demand for debt in India. it's such a significant opportunity that there's a gulf that can be filled by both international players and local players.
Yes, absolutely.
Such as yourself. So that's really terrific. Gurdeep, welcome to the stage.
Thank you.
Lovely to see you again. So tell me a little bit about yourself, but also how you are invested in India.
Hi everyone, this is Gurdeep Singh. I'm representing Standard Chartered Bank, and I'm one of the founding members of SE Ventures, which is the innovation, investment, and venture building unit of Standard Chartered Bank. So I think when we talk about the infrastructure, the digital infrastructure of India, for the bank, which is predominantly the footprint is Asia, Africa, Middle East, following this, I would say, infrastructure boom across the markets is something which we are all passionate about. You mentioned some of the aspects of the India infrastructure which are absolutely integral for the financial services sector. Unique identity, unified payments, there is open network for digital commerce.
Indeed.
There is also open credit enablement, and there is obviously account aggregation. All these, I would say, infrastructure, foundational infrastructure is so critical for financial services and the banks, not just to plug in, but also try to solve problems which were earlier not possible to solve. And that's what we are focused on at the bank and at SE Ventures. So there are 4 broad themes which we are focused on, not just in India, but globally. It is online economy, obviously the e-commerce. Second is SMEs and world trade, and obviously this is where Nadia and I have something in common and passionate about. The third is digital assets infrastructure, and the fourth is sustainability and inclusion. So these are the 4 themes we are focused on. When it comes to India, apart from the bank plugging into the infrastructure, again, SME and inclusion is a theme we are very passionate about. We also have a venture which we started in India called Solve, which is taking the commerce, which is driving the B2B commerce for the SMEs and also providing them access to financing. And we are tapping into the infrastructure which India has put in place already. The one thing we are doing slightly differently is not just focus on the India market. I keep hearing this all the time from friends, which is India is such a big market, why bother looking beyond India? And that is something we are challenging, which is absolutely not. I think the infrastructure in India and the lessons in India, which is why we're here, by the way, needs to be exported. So our Solve venture, as an example, foundation was in India, but we are taking them to Africa and to Southeast Asia. And that is one message which I want to leave with all my friends here. So that's one venture. I think I will pause by saying the other problem of inclusion is very, very important for all of us. There are ventures we are building in, let's say, the Middle East, which is solving for the problem of the migrant population. And the payments problem and the access to financing for the migrant population is something we are again solving for. And we are plugging in the India and the Middle East leg for that as an example. We can talk more about it.
Thank you very, very much, Gurdeep. I think that point around, in the India stack has been built entirely on open source software. The code is available to any country in the world that wants to leverage it. And there's such a powerful export opportunity for Indian firms and international firms that have worked with the Indian infrastructure to sell those same products and services across the globe. This is the start of a revolution, if I may. And I remember, again, speaking to Nandan Nilekani about this, and he was very positive about the opportunities that this presented across the world and not just the India space. So if I could then put a question to the entire panel. Is there a financing gap?
I think there is a dichotomy in that, in the sense, as Nadia mentioned, many other panelists throughout the day mentioned, at one end, there is a lot of money that is there, which is not being used to the extent that it needs to be used. But on the other hand, if you look at the demand that's there for the next 10, 15, 20 years, I think there is a significant gap, my personal opinion. It's more in terms of the longer term investments, more in terms of the patient investment that we talked about, the capital. And I think there are multiple sectors when I look at it. One of the big areas is connectivity, and not just kind of the physical connectivity, but the digital connectivity, right? So when you look at physical connectivity, everything to do about the smart motorways, the high-speed rail network, 70, 90 airports that the country need to build over the next 15, 20 years. There's a lot of investment that would be required to fund those. Similarly, on the digital side, I think While the urban population benefit from the broadband and the mobile connectivity, the entire 5G network would require significant investment. The broadband connectivity, especially the last mile connectivity, would require significant investment in the rural population. You look at digital agriculture, digital healthcare, digital commerce. I think they all require significant investment in the coming years and years to come. So I think there is a gap. We need to address it in a more cohesive manner, in a more structured manner, and with a longer-term view is what my personal view would be.
And if I might ask a follow-up question then, are there any areas of the investment space that are closed off to the international investor? Or is India open for business?
I think, in short, India is open for business. I think there is the regulatory policy and we talked about even in the morning, the things that Niti Aayog is suggesting to the government and the areas where they're opening up the investment. I think, in short, it is. Obviously, there are some sectors, regulatory, where there will be constraints around the level of investments and the type of investment that will come in. But I think the short answer would be, I think India is open for business and is open for investment.
Fantastic. And the same question to you, Gautam.
I could not agree more with my co-panelists here and colleagues. So to answer the last question, there's 100% FDI in India as far as data centers is concerned. And of course, banks have their own caps as far as foreign holding is concerned. But India is very, very much open to foreign capital and investments. As far as the gap on financing, I would say there are a lot of microfinance companies, micro MSME companies that are now giving first-time credit. Plus our JAM Trinity. When I say JAM, it is M stands for mobile, A stands for Aadhaar, and J stands for Jan Dhan. So financial inclusion. Plus what, as you kept saying, Nandan and Nilankini, the UDI. So everybody got their KYC done the minute they got their Aadhaar done. And the whole country is kind of KYC compliant. So we couldn't be more prouder. It couldn't be a better moment for India when you have your Aadhaar card made. And as Gurdeep just said, that we can probably export this. So I'll make a statement here. India still does not have an Apple or Sony, but India has these infrastructure companies built by the government, which every nation is vying for. Our friends at the RBI are so busy just answering queries from the neighboring countries. How do we get this right? Can you help us? Is there a think tank that can, actually tell us how do we implement this in our country? So it's a very, very proud moment for India, built by Government of India, that we have something world-class and the world wants it from us.
It is absolutely world-class. And just so you know, that is there a part of the Government of India that does provide that consultancy service to other governments, to develop India's soft power, if nothing else? Does that already exist today?
Yeah, I think we are on the verge of the way UDI is made, the other digital infrastructure is made. Now we about to see a revolution in healthcare infrastructure. The name of the body is called iSpirit. So it will not only be to give them how to do a KYC right, or how to get the UPI right, because neighboring countries like Singapore, Indonesia, I think they want to implement that soon. Singapore already implemented, if I'm not wrong. But we won't stop here, and we're going to go 1 mile further, and you'll see a lot of announcements from Government of India on iSpirit, which is the healthcare stack.
Fantastic, thank you. Nadia, anything else you'd say?
Yeah, I mean, I would agree. There's a massive potential, but there's also a huge financing gap, and you see that even more acutely in the MSME space, which a lot of us are trying to solve for. But just to give you an idea of the numbers, if you go back to the GDP figures that we're looking at, we're talking about going from 3.4 trillion to 32 trillion in 9 years. In the last 2 years, 10 million new SMEs were registered. 44% of new loans that were issued in Q2 of this year, actually, were going to new to credit borrowers in the SME space. But the lending is just not keeping pace with the economy. And that's really something that has to be addressed, because you can't have that level of GDP growth if the SME segment doesn't get adequate access to financing. And financing is also too costly in India right now. If you look at the rates of interest that companies are having to pay, you have to see how much in growth they are to actually be able to even afford that financing, which tells you that there's a huge underlying strength in the economy. And if that financing was made more affordable, then you would be India would be catapulting itself. But it still is inefficient in certain ways, in certain aspects, especially as to how that financing is being delivered. So that's, I think, an area that really has to be worked on. And it's not just the responsibility of government, it's also an opportunity for investors to enter that space and help deliver that financing more efficiently and in a more cost-effective manner.
And I think Credit Enable's at the forefront of trying
We're trying to do that, yeah.
Absolutely. Gurdeep, finally to you.
I'm struggling what to add after everybody has pretty much answered the question about, I would just spin it the other way around by saying, I won't call it a gap. Because the way India is attracting investment from multiple directions right now, I think I see this as an opportunity, and the gap will over a period of time should get plugged, but obviously I would see this as an opportunity. I think the question we should ask ourselves also is what is coming in the way, which is what is preventing some of the investors to take that bigger leap of faith for that matter. Because to me, I think you talked about data. If I was to put a few areas where I think India needs to work on to give confidence to investors, I would pick two areas. One is the data privacy and the data security element. I think we already talked about it. It's a long way to go. There was a stat that about 80 million people had a data breach a couple of years ago. A lot of graphs are going up when it comes to plugging the gap, which is financial literacy, data penetration. That gap is going up, or the graph is going up. When it comes to data security, I would say that graph needs to come down, because that is what will give investors confidence and frankly the users the confidence. I think the second is IP protection and IP laws. Again, that is not a rank which is working right now in India's favor. I think we are 42 in the rank of 55 countries. That rank also needs to improve, because if you think from investors' point of view, they are very mindful of these two aspects, because one is governance, which is linked to data, and one is frankly valuation. IP valuation, IP transfer, those aspects needs to be nailed. And then I think it will frankly unplug any gap which we have, are the 2 cents I'll add to this conversation.
Absolutely. So thank you very, very much to all my guests. It's been a terrific conversation thinking about the investment opportunities in India. It's very clear that India is open for business across all sectors, and that the opportunity is significant. And to Gurdeep's point, the regulatory and legal environment is catching up with that in part. And so investors will become more and more able to invest in India as that change in the internal landscape also happens. You should never forget that India felt like it was closed to business externally for, before the last 10 years. And so there's a whole journey there now that India is going through. It's a revolution, but revolutions take time as well. I thank everybody for their time. Wish you have a fantastic lunch. And hopefully we can continue the conversation over lunch. Thank you.
Thank you.